Um, hi everyone. Hi Tim. Hi everyone. Oh, let me turn this down. I'm in an unusual location again, which you can see behind my place of choice. Let's see if George is going to join us.
Good.
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a wonky Wi-Fi, I think, but it's okay. Jeff has spotted correctly that I am in New York. There's the Flatiron building behind me. Jeff says, hi, Moarge. Jeff, of course, works with me on another show we do, which is where we talk about this program on Paramount called The Curse. But we're here today to talk about Traitors, brand new series, 3 episodes this week on the BBC. So I liked all the notes that you sent over. We'll probably use those as like one of our big bases, really. But let me ask you first, George, had you watched it before?
Interestingly, no. So, despite some links, no, I hadn't watched the first series, nor the US. So, yeah, this second series in the UK is my first.
Yeah, second series started this week. There's been a US version. There was an Australian version. The US one had kind of celebrities in it.
Yeah.
One with celebs so far. There were like people from Below Deck and they're sort of Real Housewives, those kinds of people. Oh, Danelle, yes, there might be spoilers. Jeff's going to start watching the US version today. And yeah, what did you make of it overall then, George?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite an interesting one because it's like, there's some like, even like with the music, there's certain points that you kind of expect. The scenes, the structure, there's like elements that you kind of suggested are coming, and then there's some like really weird twists and unexpected elements of the show. I mean, also it's kind of like who you predict you think's going to go far in the show, and maybe who you like quite rapidly changes. And I mean, I find it fascinating. Like, you know, people when you first start learning about the contestants, and you kind of have an idea of like, oh, that person sounds, you know, you could relate to someone, and then like, you know, they make another comment to another contestant, and you're like, you know, I don't follow them anymore. It's an interesting.
Tim's asking in chat. Tim's asking in chat, what is the concept briefly of the show? Do you want to just explain what the concept is briefly, George?
Yeah. So essentially, it's what's the number in total of contestants? Like 20 something.
24, I think. It's masses of them. It's too many, but 24, I think.
Yeah, so 24 contestants taken to a castle in Scotland, and essentially, in the first stage, you 3 or 4 randomly get chosen as the traitors, and the rest are faithful, and then essentially it's a game of deception. And yeah, and then basically there's a 120k cash prize at the end of it for whoever makes it through.
Yeah, and they have to earn that cash by doing all sorts of challenges, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I hope you can hear the New York police sirens behind me.
It was made by the same studio as Squid Game challenge, and there's definitely a few links there between the two shows.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that they've changed up a few things, subtle things for this new series, but one thing they haven't changed is the kind of setting, and the music is very interesting. Do you want to talk a bit about your impressions of the setting, what you might know about the setting, and also what you think about the music? Because the music is very certain style of music, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as soon as the season starts, you've got these kind of like beautiful shots of the Highland in Scotland, and then you see the contestants at train stations arriving as a steam train pulls by and takes them across the, you know, the famous viaduct in Scotland that you know from Harry Potter. So you get this really like mystical feel to the show and kind of like this uncertainty of what's about to happen. So they set the scene really well, and they do that with the music. I mean, there's those typical like sounds they use on these sort of shows in there, like you kind of expect from something like X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent. Those sort of like songs, but they've done it really well. Although even like what I found really bizarre is that even they used like shots of crows that like adds to this sense, but then they show the contestants getting in their vehicles to go to the hotel, and I just think they've like I don't know something's like not quite right there. But
Yeah, we noticed that, and I thought that was a bit weird, actually. I'm pretty sure in the previous series the contestants did stay in, or it was portrayed that they were staying in the castle, because you'd see their bedrooms, etc. They've got more contestants this time, so maybe it's just like a logistics thing that they couldn't have enough room in the castle to get them in there. But I do think that was a bit weird, and it's a bit, it's a sort of a miss. I prefer when they're all stuck together, you know, and they're all chatting, having to stay together. Another thing that they've slightly changed, which you won't have seen, is, and this is a very subtle difference, but it's a very good difference, is they've slightly changed the voting, okay? Now, I mentioned to you in my notes that in one of the very early episodes, there was a real good example of, I think it might have been episode 1, there was a real good, or 2, the first vote, there's a really good herd mentality. They all picked one person, and they all voted for that person. And what happened in the previous series and in the American and in the Australian ones was that a lot of good contestants got voted out early, and the people who were really quiet and under the radar stayed, and so the kind of show kind of waned a little bit because the kind of personalities got voted out in the first half. Now, you noticed, right, in episodes 2 or 3 that they've kind of either had a word in their ear or prompted them, vote for these under the radar people because we don't want boring people left. Did you notice that?
yeah, I did. But the herd mentality thing's interesting because clearly the contestants are kind of afraid to say too much, but then they're kind of like they don't want to be the people that stir things because obviously what happened with what was the lady that got murdered first, so to speak?
I can't remember. Was she
Sonia? Sonia, yeah. And kind of what happened there, she just said she was faithful and she just made a few comments that got misunderstood. And then everyone basically like heard it on her. One person said, I think you're guilty. And basically everyone just copied, didn't they? And I think because of that, it kind of set the precedent for like, what not to do maybe.
Yeah, Jeff says in chat that under the radar is a strong strategy for these types of reality shows. Yes, it is. And I think producers have cottoned on. Actually, we need to kind of combat it a little bit. Another thing that you just said there, George, to pick up on is, and this definitely happened in all the other series, you can say the smallest little thing and it'll be picked up and they will run with it. You know, you make some quip or some gag and it's taken the wrong way. And that means like they're going to vote for you. You're a traitor. That, you know, the smallest little thing that you say. One thing that is good, and they did have in previous series as well, is they have these kind of like little plot twists. And of course, there was a really cool plot twist in episode 2 or 3 when we discovered that we have a mother and it's mother and son, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I thought that was really good.
we kind of saw what happened in Squid Games with that, didn't we? With the mother and son.
I can't remember that. Is that in? Tell me about that. Was that the Squid Game, the reality show, or the Squid Game one?
Yeah, the recent one. But it was kind of a similar thing that happened, and they've kind of decided to keep it quiet and not expose it to the rest too quick. But it'd be really interesting to see how they work together. Or do they work together? Or do they kind of go down their own route? Like, you know, in Squid Game, the challenge, the mum came out and kind of really wanted it and kind of pushed on to kind of, you know, go her own route. And I would just wonder whether that will happen here. You know, or is Diane, I think it is, isn't it, the mum, is she just going to kind of like hand it over to him and be like, you know, you might be able to do a better job and you go forward? It'd be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. They did do this in series 1 of the UK one where they had boyfriend and girlfriend that didn't reveal to each other, didn't reveal to the gang until way in. And they didn't like work together. They just didn't vote for each other. And then one of them got voted out and then another one got voted out. So there is a precedent for doing that. But I thought it was really well, because Diane is quite a feisty character, you know, and that other guy, Zach, was like a little bit perceptive. He said, I think the ginger guy, the red-headed guy, Paul, is her son.
Yes,
and actually it turns out that it was Ross. So she's an interesting character. Paul is quite an interesting character. He's a traitor, and he's quite outspoken. He's quite funny, and I suggest that means he's not going to last.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but he gives me like vibes that he's kind of obvious that he's a traitor, and like the way he interacts with people and kind of observes and stays quiet and kind of like the way he interacts. I just kind of think he stands out. But yeah, it's interesting.
Another one that stands out is the aforementioned Zach, who was suspicious of you know, that Diane and Paul were. I don't think Zach's going to last very long.
No, I don't either. And there's an interesting dynamic with him and Diane, actually. So Diane, the mum, she was a teacher and she's very observant. And now Zach has sort of seen the intelligence and the observation and just kind of assumes she's a traitor because she's intelligent. And I think there's like, even with the other contestants, I think there's like a lack of, I don't know if they're like interpersonal skills or a kind of lack of understanding of people and their background and maybe why they say the things they do. And people are quite quick to sort of assume, oh, you've made this comment and therefore, you know, you're kind of over speaking and you might be a traitor. And it's an interesting one.
Yeah. And you also have to think like, you know, these people are being featured. Yes, Jeff, you get to know who the traitors are right at the beginning. And in this time they had a small plot twist, which was they announced 3 of the traitors and then the traitors recruit 1 more. And I think the person that they have recruited, the vet guy, he could go quite far because he's very empathetic, he's very nice, and he just doesn't seem like a traitor. Whereas I think Paul could be out quite soon. And actually, I have to say that the lady that they're somewhat suspicious of a little bit, the female traitor, Ash, I think she's terrible. I think she seems to be complete, like she just says, I'm guilty. That's what her expression is to me.
No, I completely agree. Is there someone that you kind of feel that will go really far in the show, like already from the first seasons or first episode? Sorry.
Yeah, I think the vet guy, and I think Johnny, who has got the kind of sympathy of like he had his leg taken off, I think when he was in the army, was that right? Or in some accident, I can't remember. He seems very oh, hang on. Where's George? Are you still there, George? Oh, looks like we've lost George. I don't know why that is. He's not in the chat anymore. Let me see. Oh, here he is. Oh, everyone's app's crashed. It's strange because we had some crashes on Tim, if you're listening, I had crashes on the Jeff show on Thursday when we were talking about the curse. And now I'm trying to bring George back on, but he's not able to come back on. OmiWins didn't crash. Maybe, I don't know if it's an or an iPhone thing. But I'm trying to bring George back on. Let's see if I'm calling him now again. Yeah. There you go.
Back.
Yeah.
Not sure what that was.
No, that's right. I think Johnny could go well. I think the vet guy could go well as a traitor. Bear in mind that the 4 people who are the traitors now are very, very unlikely to be, all 4 of them will not survive to the end, okay? Because they'll be down to, maybe 2 of them will, and then they'll recruit more people as they get towards the end because they can all share the money as well. I just wanted to have a word out for the challenges that they have to do. There was the lake one where they had to put that thing together. There was the scarecrow one. They're incredibly, the people who work on those challenges, I mean, are doing an incredible job because it's just like so complicated and like a lot of preparation. Yeah,
definitely. So I mean, in the way that we often do, they do like rehearsals of the actual what's the
challenges?
The challenges, that's the word.
Missions,
So they do rehearsals of those. So often when you see the filming, there's a few pieces that you start realizing don't quite connect, but it's often if the footage was better from the rehearsal, they'll use that. And they also get like other sort of like runners and other staff to come in and help. Because I was wondering, you know, on the first one where they light up, the fire lights up on those like floating things in the lake. I was wondering, how does that really work? If, you know, surely it's all got to be connected for the flames to like come up.
Yeah.
But essentially, that shot was filmed in the rehearsal, and then they came in and they filmed the rest of it whilst the contestants were there. But yeah, they are really well put together. Really.
They are well put together. I had a couple of other observations that you've got this guy who's Anthony, who's a chess coach, and in the Australian version, which was on last year, we also had a chess coach. Chess coaches never last because they always think like they're like super intelligent, they know the next move, they know gameplay, etc. Chess coaches never seem to last in these shows, so I don't think he's going to last very long. And he's a little bit combative as well. I'm interested in the other traitor guy, who's the young boy Harry, who is playing the kind of meek Essex lad, slightly cheeky chappy, but with a smile on his face. He could do quite well. He reminds me of a guy in Series 1 called Aaron, who was very close to him and did get towards the final, I think. I suspect Harry could do quite well.
So I'm in like two minds for Harry, because I think part of me thinks, he's like a warm, friendly character, someone I'd probably get along with personally, and maybe a lot of people won't want to vote him out because they just really get on with him and he's a good laugh. But I learned from the filming that they had to keep stopping the actual filming of the show because he kept over speaking about his kind of military career and some of the exercises he'd been on that are confidential. And it gives me a question whether, you know, is he going to overspeak? Is he going to think about this, like maybe a strategy, or is he going to be wise enough, or is he just going to like blow it up? You know, I'm not sure, but it'd be interesting.
Yes, he could be a little bit naive. That is a good point. And interesting that if you're listening and watching the show, George is dropping some behind the scenes info here from a very top secret source, which is only live here on MOAR. You're going to find out this sort of thing. I had one more comment, right, which is I thought in Series 3 that they must have sort of like mental health people on hand as well, because I honestly thought that guy Brian was going to have some sort of a breakdown about that whole sheep business. He seemed to take it in a very exaggerated manner. He got very upset. He was really stressed out in the boardroom or in the round table. And I was like, gosh, I hope they have someone like a psychologist or someone who could speak to him. Did you not think his reaction was a bit like over the top?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, there's been a few situations where I've wondered, is there other things going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing? I mean, there was a situation with Zach when they were at the round table, and there was a few like sort of sharp comments back. And I did wonder, has something gone on that we haven't seen? But it's hard to know, I guess.
Yeah, and also a small funny bit was the first guy to get kicked out, Aubrey. Classic. I'm a great observer of people. I'm the most observant person. Bye. He's like gone straight out.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. So I think they're going to show 3 every week. I think they left us on a cliffhanger, didn't they? Because we're waiting to see who the next person to be knocked out is. So I'm really looking forward to the rest of it, and I think it's going to grow and grow. I think it's become sort of something of a national institution, this show. Did you have any final comments that you wanted to add that we haven't discussed from your point of view?
Not really. I mean, I was thinking about kind of what might happen in the next episodes, and I've noticed from some of the other shows that, other shows similar, where you start to kind of learn as you go through towards the next set of episodes. You start to learn who's getting more airtime and who's getting kind of less, and I found it really interesting that there was, on that note, there was a contestant that they had like basically not shown in the first 2 episodes, I think, and in the I'm trying to think the name now, and in the third. Tracy. It was Tracy. And they just sort of started showing her. And I was like, who's this? I haven't seen this person. And I realised when you've got that many people to film, it must be really hard to make sure that you're capturing every person. But
Super hard.
I guess it's good to follow those little moments, because in the next episodes, we're thinking, okay, you know, this person's getting more airtime. The editing's obviously happened after they know who the winner is, and then they're kind of building the story. So I always find those like kind of production elements quite interesting. So yeah, I'll be following that.
Was that lady is she like a psychic or a clairvoyant or something?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is again reminds me of the Australian series where they had a psychic on and they had a chess coach on.
Yeah.
So they've obviously watched these other series and sort of picked a little bit for their casting. But the psychic in Australia was really funny, actually. She basically walked out after about 6 episodes because she just left the show. She quit. She wasn't picked on. She wasn't a traitor. She quit. But what was interesting about the psychic in Australia, she said, I know who the 3 traitors are. And she revealed them, I think, privately or maybe to one person. She got 2 of them right. She knew 2 of the traitors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, out of 20, it's pretty good going.
That's
I'll get 3 and she's got 2.
One
might have been a guess because she got 2. Yeah.
I don't know if Tracy's going to quite give us that. I'm not sure because her first reading, is it Anthony or like one of the guys she did a reading with? And it was so generic. And
oh my God, it was terrible.
Yes. Said, something happened in your childhood that made you the person you are today. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. But maybe he just didn't want to be rude. But it was the most generic thing. Like, of course, everyone can relate to that because everyone's had something happen in their childhood.
It was really funny. It was so generic. It really was so generic.
So I'm not sure. Could be some comedy there, but I'm not sure if how long she'll stay.
Yeah, good. Tim says he's glad he never was a child. Yes, well, fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, look, back next week. I'll talk to you separately about when we'll do our next one. It's on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but they seem to be releasing all 3 at one time on the iPlayer, so you can just watch them. So I'm going to watch my 3 by the end of next week, and you and I can discuss when we'll want to do part 2, or if we get somebody else on, or we'll mix it up, etc. But I've enjoyed our chat. It's nice to watch these shows. I've enjoyed watching The Curse, thinking about Jeff, who's on with us today. What's Jeff going to say? What are his thoughts? And it's nice now that if you're watching it and you can make the odd comment and give us a bit of insider info, it's super interesting. Yeah, but no spoilers, of course. Only spoilers up to the episodes we've watched, 1, 2, and 3. All right. Well, George, thanks very much. Thanks, everyone in chat for chatting along and joining us. I'll speak to you later. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.